Right, the amount of like anti-flu and cold tablets I have taken can only be described as biblical. Anyway, let's do one that I know a lot of people are going to get angry at. Just because... Bleh. Measured. Yay. First of all, we're going to get a baseline with Optimist. However, Ranger amplifies weapon damage by 2% for every 5 meters, or 4 meters with Perfect Ranger, you are away from the enemy. Now, while we're getting this baseline going, while testing this, I suddenly got very confused as to why this even is a talent in the first place, because I'm just going to spoil it right from the bat. The moment Ranger actually starts doing optimal damage comparative to other talents, you're outside of optimal range on that weapon anyway, so it then suffers from the drop-off. So what's the point? It's literally not really giving you anything when pretty much every other talent, minus a few non-damage talents obviously, measured obviously, will just offer you so much more. So I took to Hutchler and I asked him, been doing some testing with Ranger. In order to get beneficial damage from it, you have to be shooting things outside of optimal range, at which point your damage suffers from the damage drop-off, mitigating Ranger in the first place. So what's the point? To which this genius man replies, I did this test years ago, 58.5 meters is required to match rifleman DPS on an M1A, at which point it suffers from the drop-off. This shows two things. One, point of the video, Ranger is meh. It's not particularly bad. It is a very stable talent. That's the one thing it's got going for it. With things like Optimist, Strained, there's a certain ramp up, your damage is always changing, etc, etc. However, with Ranger, as long as you're able to manage the range you are shooting at, it is completely stable. If you're hitting 10mm DPS at 10 meters, you're always going to be hitting 10mm DPS at 10 meters. With Optimist, it fluctuates dramatically depending on what stack you're on and how many crits you're getting. It really is more fluctuation. The other thing that this shows is quite simply that my channel is nothing original. Every test that I do and everything I put out onto YouTube has been done before. I'm just regurgitating it. So yeah, for all those people that think I make stuff up, I'm not. I'm literally just copying what others better than me already did. Anyway, I'm aware with these stuff on screen and me talking, you possibly missed it. But we need, because I've got Ranger on this weapon now, we need to get a point of where we're able to go between 6.1 and 6.8 mil DPS. So we can be here for a while at 5 meters. It's not going to happen. There's 6.1. It's mostly just down to crit ratios as well, just because it becomes annoying. 6.1 again. The theoretical max of DPS we're able to get with this build and Optimist is 6.8 mil, depending on how many crits you actually get while stacking Optimist. The calculations that I have done, utilizing just body crits, puts us to 6.7, so we're like 100k below. And maxing those calculations, but removing Optimist and putting Ranger in its place, gives us some serious changes. Now sadly, I only know how to calculate Optimist as an average, and it's really simple. Just put your all weapon damage as to half of what Optimist is, and then just put in a slight scaling with crit, and then away you go. When we add Ranger in, hopefully you can see there that I've kept the calculations as pretty simple as possible. The only thing that changes is for all weapon damage on Optimist, and then on the Ranger, they get, depending on the distance they're at, they will get a different multiplier. So if we look at the end results of this, like I said, Optimist, I've got 6.7 mil, headshot DPS is like 9.6 mil, but Optimist versus Ranger at 5 meters, that's what that 5 is on the right hand side, you're missing quite a lot of damage. Then at 10 meters, we're at 83% and 76% of Optimist. 15 meters we're at 84 and 78. 20 meters we're at 86 and 79%. At 25 meters we're at 88 and 81%. 30 meters we're at 90% and 83%. And at 35 meters we actually finally start catching up. We're at 91 and 84% of what Optimist is able to give. After this, Ranger will overtake Optimist simply because you now have the range drop off. The problem is no AR has an optimal range of over 35 meters. What this means in reality is, although Ranger can be a decent-ish weapon talent, it's really not worthwhile in the long run when compared to things like Killer, Strained, Optimist, pretty much any other sort of higher end decent damage talent. Ranger just can't compete. Pretty sure, could be wrong in saying this, but I'm pretty sure the only DPS talent that Ranger technically beats is Measured. But yeah, Ranger is just not there, I'm afraid, which is kind of a shame because it's one of the few weapon talents that is a direct multiplier, a direct amp, I suppose you could say, without really giving much. In Flatline it's 15%, which would be the equivalent of 35 to 40 meters on Ranger. That should kind of tell you all you need to know. In order for Ranger to even hit the damage of Flatline, it needs to be at near enough 40 meters, at which point the damage drop off is hitting you. Yeah. Anyway, that's basically going to do it for this video. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.